Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tanya Azar, wife, cat mom, English professor, and passion planner ambassador. This video, we're going to talk about setting up an ideal week. Setting up an ideal week is definitely popular among different productivity enthusiasts, but it's also pretty popular among faculty in academia. Partly because we have to kind of reevaluate our ideal week every so often. At the beginning of a new semester, we might have classes that take place in a different time of day. We might have different sort of obligations to our department or what have you. And it just helps us to think about what would, given my existing obligations for this particular semester, what would my ideal use of time be? So, given that, given everything with a grain of salt, this is an ideal week, so almost no week ever goes according to plan, but it does help to maybe have a little bit of an idea of, how much time you want to spend on this and how much time you want to spend on that. What times and what days do you want to tackle this or that activity? So I do like to go ahead and set up an ideal week at the beginning of most semesters. I haven't done it every semester, certainly, but just to give myself an idea and to make sure that I am making time for those things that really matter to me. So, that's actually a really good place to start. And I'm going to use this extra spread that I have, this weekly spread in my passion planner. And particularly, we're going to start in the space of infinite possibility because I want to start with the things that I want to make sure I find time for in my schedule for this semester. So one of the things I definitely want to make time for is a hobby hour every week, because I do have a number of hobbies, and if I don't schedule at least a single devoted hour to it, it almost never happens. So that's something that I could find time for. I also want to find time to create my content. So that includes videos like this one. It includes the blog that I have, which I'll put a link to in the description. And I definitely want to take a stab at a podcast soon. So I want to have time for this type of content creation and production. And I also need to have time for my academic writing projects. This I actually have been pretty good about most semesters since I finished my PhD. So I just need to make sure that I am finding some time. Now, I am not in a tenure track role, so there is no expectation for me to publish or perish. However, I do really enjoy academic research and writing, and I want to make it a priority. And I know that I teach a 4-4 load. That means I teach 4 classes per semester. So that doesn't always leave a ton of time for this kind of academic work. But I do like to find at least a little time to move the needle forward on some of the projects that I care about. Right now, for example, I have a chapter in a book about to be published. I have an article that is in editing mode. I have some edits I need to make to it before I submit it for publication. And I have a book project that I am working on the proposal for. So I'm finding time for it. It's just slower than it would be if I was in a research and writing teaching position. I want to find time for my home. I take great pride in my home, in keeping it clean and tidy, in decorating it for different seasons. I don't go over the top. I would say, I'm juggling a lot, and I certainly don't obsess over every piece of furniture, but I do like it to look nice and to feel good. I spend a lot of time working out of my home, and so I want to make sure that I prioritize that to a certain extent. I want to find time each week to do some professional development. And I use this term kind of broadly. It's basically kind of my learning hour, if you will. And throughout the semesters, whenever I see something that I might enjoy learning about, I save it in a list in Google Keep. And so I like to find an hour per week where I am learning something new or engaged in a learning community of sorts. So professional development is important to me. This probably should have gone first, but I think I do a good job already of prioritizing friends and family. I'm going to put them both here. I have regular weekly calls with some of my friends that live far away. I meet with friends that are nearby for happy hour or river tubing, or the other day we went to a Washington Spirits soccer game. So I feel like I do pretty well with keeping up with friends and family. To include my husband, of course, making time to have fun date nights. Like, for example, today we might go out because it's such nice weather out today, to one of our favorite breweries and get a beer and have some nachos or something, just like sit in the sun and enjoy the weather. But I also have other priorities here, like my grandfather, who, if you've been watching my channel, you might know that he has terminal cancer. He's 90 years old, and it's been hard, but I also, I want to make a concerted effort to send him things in the mail, to send him emails, to give him phone calls, so there's things that I need to and want to prioritize when it comes to family and friends. I certainly have my actual work that I need to consider, my teaching my students. And in this particular semester, I'm teaching two rather sort of ambitious classes, community engaged classes that involve quite a bit of organizing on my part, at least especially in the beginning. And so I just need to kind of make sure that I'm making space for that. And I'm going to add here to the work. I care a lot about engagement with community, which is why I teach these classes. In semesters I don't teach them, I replace that effort and time with volunteer work. But in semesters I'm teaching the CE classes. My volunteer hours are actually wrapped up in these classes that I'm teaching. So I'm just going to put this sort of on its own line, because some semesters it's just regular volunteering, and some semesters it's attached to the classes that I'm teaching. And then finally, I want to make time to plan. Believe it or not, this does take a little bit of extra time I wouldn't necessarily need, I could use for something else in this list. But if I didn't do what I'm doing now and what I do in my other videos that you can watch on this channel, I wouldn't be able to really kind of balance all this. I mean, you might be looking at this and thinking, like, how the hell would you do this all in a week anyway? But and some weeks I don't, and I don't beat myself up about it. But if I don't put any thought into it at all, it's never going to happen. So all I can do is talk about my priorities and find potential time to tackle them in a given week, in an ideal week. Okay. So now I'm going to think about the fixed engagements that are in these categories that I really can't change even if I wanted to, and then work around them. So I'm on campus basically from about 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And as part of my community engagement work, I am teaching a class. I'm actually teaching a digital literacy class, 6 to 7 p.m. with a really great organization called Computer Core. They deliver digital literacy classes to low-income folks. And so I'm really happy to be doing that again this semester. So that is another fixed engagement. Every morning, what I actually forgot to put in this list here is my morning routine. I'm going to make a video someday about what that morning routine looks like, but it has changed my life, you guys. I've been doing it most of the year, in fact, and I I can't believe what I was doing before without it. It really is sort of, it's been transformative. Um, and I really want to make sure that I do have time for it. Now, the beauty of my system with the morning routine is I can squash it if I have to fit it in, a day where I have to be somewhere earlier, for example, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I can kind of condense my routine. But it's been incredible, for my house, for my relationships, for myself, my relationship with myself. So that will be kind of every morning of the weekdays. And sometimes I do an amended version of it on the weekends, but not all the time. And, sometimes I like to keep it loose on the weekends. So typically around sort of this 4 to 5 window every single day is devoted to kind of cooking and eating dinner with my husband. And, sometimes we mix it up and we go out or go to happy hour or something. But I can anticipate that this time, for the most part, is going to involve cooking and eating and my husband for the most part. Tuesdays, I do have a call with one of my best friends, and I definitely like to make that a priority. Similarly, on Fridays, I have calls with other friends, and recently I added a writing group meeting. I'm going to talk about my writing group in another video, but it's just a great way to make sure that this goal is happening. They help me stay on track and understand what's next and how to meet my goals and so on and so forth. Saturday, I will say, is probably the day where a good amount of the home care comes into place. I like to do the cleaning on this day. This is when I do some of the laundry, namely towels and sheets and things like that. I tend to do 2 loads of laundry, one on the weekend and one on Wednesdays. So it just depends kind of, what our needs are at any given moment, but that's kind of where the home care comes into it. Content creation is another thing entirely. I'm not always entirely sure when to squeeze it in. Right now I have blog posts that are supposed to be posted Tuesdays and Fridays. The blog post on Friday, though, sometimes gets bumped to Saturday. So, and then I have videos going out Friday and Mondays. And really what I've been doing is sort of batching like creation and dropping the content on the same day. So, I shoot the video Friday, I edit it. I don't do a whole lot of editing, but a little bit, and post it the same day, because I find that I'm just like focused on YouTube or whatever, all at once, instead of, film, edit, and then drop, depending on that. So, and really because I don't have time to work ahead really well right now anyway. So that may change, though. I may find a way for me to batch filming so that I can be a little ahead, and that way I'm not having to like devote the same amount of time every single week to it. But really right now, how this is working out is content is happening here Friday morning. And this is when I shoot the videos for both Friday and the Monday here. So what might be a good plan is to really do blog content here Monday mornings before I get going on work. So that might be a good way to split it up. Video content here, blog content here. Okay. So then that definitely leaves an opportunity for me to think about where I would put professional development, where I would put my hobby hour. And I'm picturing the hobby hour maybe something I do with my husband. He has hobbies as well, and sometimes we take over the kitchen table and we do our hobbies together. So I think since I'm teaching this class on Mondays and I have this call with my friend Tuesdays, maybe Wednesday. Wednesday might be a good time to do the hobby hour. Yeah, I'm thinking Wednesday. So before or after dinner? Probably before. We get a little tired around this time because my husband gets up at 4 in the morning for work. So, we're pretty much in bed by 8. We often, sometimes we'll watch like YouTube videos or read in bed, so we're not like necessarily going to sleep right that second. But so I'll put hobby hour, and it can kind of go wherever, depending on how involved dinner is and how hungry we are and stuff like that. So Wednesdays is good. Sometimes I have department meetings here, but that's not too disruptive from the whole day. I also keep forgetting I have Wednesdays most of the time free to do other things, but what I really would like to do kind of on these days is prioritize work and my academic writing. And similarly, on Mondays. Professional development hour. So I have some options open to myself. I could put professional development into my free Mondays and Wednesdays, my relatively free Mondays and Wednesdays. Could squeeze an hour into one of these days. Or I could, I have a gap between my 2 classes that I teach Tuesdays and Thursdays. I could do a professional development hour in one of those gaps. Often what I'm doing is I'm in my office and other stuff comes up, emails from students, or I'm trying to coordinate something with the community engaged courses, or I have some prep or, various things. So that time, and to be honest, I take a rather long lunch break often, and I'm scrolling Instagram a lot of that time. So in theory, I could put one of my PD hours in there, but then I'd have to bring my other notebook to take notes on it. So it might just be the simplest, easiest thing would be to stick the professional development on one of these days. And since I already have content creation on this day and volunteer work on this day, I think Wednesday's the winner in terms of professional development. So maybe what I can do is kind of do like a working lunch type thing where I have my professional development thing running while I'm eating and taking notes. Luckily, planning and video content creation are the same thing for me. So I squeeze planning in here. I make time every morning in my morning routine to look at my planner and update it and make sure that I'm looking at it. And I kind of consult it fairly often. And so actually, I think I found time for potentially all my priorities. Yeah. In an ideal week, of course. So I just, again, want to emphasize that this is not always what happens. It is, very often it is much messier than this, and, other stuff is happening. But, I do want to go ahead and give it a little color so that, the distinct things that I'm doing stand out and I can kind of see what the holes are. And I'm fudging a little of the times too, but I'm giving myself some flexibility. Really, a lot of this has to do with less like how much time does something take, and more like how much energy and mental focus does it require, and not trying to overload a single day with too many things, too many similar things. So as with my trying to find professional development, Mondays seem like a good idea potentially, but I mean, they're really not, because I have so much other stuff going on. So I'd love to know in the comments, do you do an ideal week? And if so, do you start with a list of priorities like this? Or what do you do exactly with setting up your ideal week? And then also, do you consult it? Because that's the clutch. Sometimes, I make these things and then I forget about them. And later on, I'm flipping through my planner and I'm like, oh, right, my ideal week. I forgot about that. So, ideally, I'm not going to forget. I'm just going with a kind of like a rainbow sherbet palette here because I just like these colors. I'm a fan of sunset colors. And it just looks nice. And my content, video content. And let's do a little Tombow action. We'll do it on the Acry because I like that better. We'll do a little Tombow dual brush pen. I actually just ordered some more of these brush pens because they're just so lovely. I love them so much, and I have to get kind of used to them a little bit. I'm not an expert clearly, but it'd be nice to get a little more artistic in my planner. And for work, I think we will go with this kind of bright mild liner. And for bed, we'll just color this in. Send it I like doing this too because sometimes we forget, oh yeah, we go to bed at some point and we look at this kind of hourly thing and we forget, we have real human needs and we can't fill every single moment. And I wouldn't want to either because I do like to plan, but at the same time, I am all about spontaneous fun. So I am willing to rethink my plans in order to enjoy my life. Okay, thank you for watching this video about my process for laying out my ideal week, trying to find time for all of my important goals. Please let me know in the comments if you do something similar, if it looks at all like this, or if you do something slightly different. And please stay tuned for more videos like this, how I plan and organize my life so that I can meet my professional and personal goals. And I do my weekly plan with me's on Friday, so feel free to pop in those comments and take a look at what I've got going on there. And also, you can find additional things on Instagram. I love that platform, post there pretty often. In the description too, you'll find a link to the Passion Planner, to my referral link, which gives me a small commission if you choose to use it to buy any Passion Planner products, and a discount code, among other things. So have a good weekend, and I will see you back here.